Hey guys, Nestletter Magic here. Remember when on social media it was sort of said but sort of implied that we got 3 spoilers today, but really if you wanted to see the start of spoilers, you had to tune into their Twitch channel tomorrow because that was like the real official start. What they actually meant by that was we sent over some spoilers to the SJW activist douchebags at Kotaku who proceeded to put it on their Australian website because technically it's tomorrow in Australia. I wish I was kidding. And also, I guess they're just pretending that loading ready run doesn't exist. Or they just said screw it and leaked them early. I don't really care which is the case. Well, I don't think there will be any backlash against Kotaku because, well, time zones are a thing, and also because they're just the biggest SJW douchebag activists that Wizards has in their back pocket. So anyway, I don't give a crap where these came from, and neither do you. Let's jump into them, because my channel is really the only place you need to go for spoilers. Well, that and mythicspoiler.com. So first up, we've got Crystal Slipper. Now, I do believe in the original story it was a slipper, but FYI, that is a high heel. I mean, I'm no women's shoe expert, but I'm also not blind. Although I will say, if you have women's slippers that you wear at night to just go around the house and eat shredded cheese at 3 a.m. from the fridge, and they got heels on them, that's some classy shit. More power to you. And that goes double if it's actually made out of crystal, because that would be like the most baller shit ever. And you're probably going to get like an Asiago Parmesan mozzarella mix because you classy like that. But anyway, this is a red artifact because colored artifacts are Wizards' new obsession. And equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has haste because everybody knows Cinderella was famous for her amazing ability to win marathons. While wearing heels, by the way. That's impressive.
Can she run really fast in high heels?
Race you to the car.
Okay.
Oh, and it costs 2 to cast, by the way, 1 to equip. So, simple. I kind of like this because it's a haste ability for 1. You can plan ahead. It is a slower red strategy, which we definitely need in the game. Yes, I know I'm calling haste slower. It's just you're casting something that costs 2 mana that initially does absolutely nothing, so it actually is slow. And then it gives an attack bonus, which is huge, and then also haste for just 1 mana. So if you drop something in and you're like, oh man, I wish I could swing this turn with it. Well, no, you can if you have 1 additional mana. So since this is so powerful, I'm actually kind of amazed that it's a common. Also, I'm kind of amazed that they approved that set logo. That looks terrible as a common. They have to kind of invert the outline to make commons because like the inside is black instead of the outside being, you know how they work. And some of them look great and some of them look terrible. This one really looks bad and they've been nailing it lately. Like even Aether Revolt, you could tell what you were looking at. This, wow. Maybe it'll look like a little bit less of a mess when it actually gets on the paper, but right now it just looks like Innistrad but blurrier. Yikes. Anyway, the flavor text, which is going to be very important, is after the death of her mother, Kasaya found that things that appear fragile can be very strong indeed. And that's from the book Beyond the Great Henge. And by the way, these are numbered. This is from, I guess, like book number 8, potentially. We don't really have the full details on what's going on with that. Well, they may have a great henge, but there's only one henge I care about, and that's Stonehenge. What is the meaning of Stonehenge? I mean, seriously, guys, what is the deal with Stonehenge? I mean, I think about it when I dream. It's the biggest henge that I have ever seen. What is the purpose of Stonehenge? A giant granite birthday cake? Or a prison far too easy to escape?
What's the meaning of Stonehenge?
I mean, if you don't get the reference at this point, just get off the internet. Okay, I do have a point here, and it's that I looked up the word henge because I'm like, what the hell is a henge? It's a Neolithic monument of the British Isles consisting of a circular area enclosed by a bank. It's Stonehenge. A henge isn't a thing. It's a proper noun. It is literally the name of what it is. So my point is, I think what they meant to write on the card was hedge. I mean, maybe not, but how would you go beyond a henge? It's a circle of stones. And Stonehenge wasn't in any fairy tales. You would go beyond a hedge, though. A line of, like bushes and crap. So have we already discovered 4 cards in the first typo? I think we have. Either that or 2 Stone Age guys wondering what to do who just said, dude, let's build a henge or 2. So anyway, next up we've got the Gilded Goose. I'm glad they're going with what I'm pretty sure I recall are the original names from the original fairy tales because it was called the Golden Goose in the, I don't know what, Disney versions or whatever. But the word gilded is actually the Old English term, and it implies that it's not solid gold, it's plated with gold, or decorated with a gold leaf on the outside. It refers to what they would do to really high-end armor, I believe. And if you appreciate the absolute weirdness of this video already, leave a big gilded like on it. So this is a 0/2 flying bird, and it says when it enters the battlefield, create a food token, and it states, it's an artifact with pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. So pretty much just a RuneScape scenario here, where you would fight somebody, stab them with a sword, and they would just heal themselves by eating a pineapple pizza. Very logical. Oh, or just stuffing an entire swordfish into their mouth and eating it in a quarter second, which that alone is pretty amazing. Let alone the amazing restorative effects. So then you can pay 2 and tap this bird and create a food token, which, do you guys get what's going on here? We're eating the golden goose's eggs. I mean, I don't know if that slipped by some of you, but it didn't slip by me. Anyway, you can also tap it, sacrifice a food, and then add 1 mana of any color. So this is kind of a really crappy Birds of Paradise. But in the context and the power level of Standard, it's probably an improved Birds of Paradise. Because, I mean, you got the optionality of it. I mean, this thing ain't no joke. And if you think about it, okay, it enters the battlefield, boom, food, instant, cool. The very next turn, tap it, sack a food, add 1 mana of any color. So it's a single-use Birds of Paradise. And then if you want to store up some more food or for future use or do a delayed ramp or whatever, it's only 2 mana, you just lose it because you got to tap it. But then if something doesn't go to plan, you've also got the life gain option. So I could actually see certain decks swapping out the actual Birds of Paradise for this, potentially. It's a long shot, but it's possible. So next up, very fittingly, we've got Golden Egg. No, not Gilded Egg. In fact, I think in the original fairy tale it was solid gold, which that's expensive. But anyway, it's a 2-cost artifact food, so this is also a food in addition to food tokens being food, so that's odd. And then when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So that's already amazing because it just replaces itself. So this is either going to be in every deck or nobody's deck. And then if you pay 1 and tap it, sacrifice Golden Egg, add 1 mana of any color. So okay. Then if you pay 2 and tap it, sack it, you gain 3 life. So this Golden Egg must contain antioxidants because it's a bit of a superfood because that gives you 2 options. Then again, I mean, the bottom ability is just what food does. And then the pay 1, tap it, and spit out 1 is just a filter. It doesn't actually gain you 1 mana. So, I mean, would you bother to put this in a color fixing deck? Probably not. A single use filter, I don't know. But pay 2 and it draws a card. I mean, that really puts it almost into cantrip territory. I mean, it's not 0, but I think it might be a little bit limited in its use unless people are playing 3 color, which shouldn't be a thing until much more sets are legal than 5 at a time, which is what will happen immediately post rotation. But in a deck that cares about how much food you have, that will be a different story. And you already know they're probably going to do get to 10 food win the game or some just ridiculous forced, let's force people to play food and make it a relevant deck crap, and then it's going to turn into Approach of the Second Sun again. I mean, at this point, after watching Wizards just trip over their own stupidity week after week after year, I have a bit of a sense for these things. So next up, we've got Runaway Together, and that's obviously the Hunchback, although he looks like more of a zombie or like a scarecrow or something. That's kind of freaky. So it's a 2-cost blue instant, and it says choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players, return those creatures to their owner's hands. So this will do some damage in multiplayer Commander right here. I'm not sure there's anything on par with this card. I mean, certainly not Unsummon or Cyclonic. So let me just remind you that you cannot cast this without valid targets, all valid targets, so you have to return something that you own. But if there's an ETB loop deck or just even any deck that kind of runs blue and kind of has pretty good enter the battlefield effects, ooh, you can do some damage with this. It isn't a direct flicker, that would be way too ridiculous, but if you could recast it, watch out. And remember instant speed, so you could also save your creature with this, so this is really good, especially for a common. And the flavor text is virtue is virtue, whatever the heart that nurtures it, from Malakan Vantress Exile. Oh, so now we've got exiles potentially from the city or whatever of Eldraine. They're probably heavy users of Feywild magic, so that makes sense. Next up, we got a card accompanying some previously leaked artwork, Wishful Merfolk. It is a blue creature with 3 attack and a cost of 2, which you almost never see, but when you do see it, there's a drawback, and I'm not kidding, in the entire history of the game, there are only 2 cards. 2 blue creatures that have a higher attack power than their mana cost with no downside. One is Goliath Sphinx, and I don't remember what the other one is. I think it's, it might be that Masterwork thing, one of Geralf's things. Anyway, it has Defender, so there you go. And you can pay 2, Wishful Merfolk loses Defender and becomes a human until end of turn. Cool. So it's kind of like worse than being a 3-2 for 4 because you got to pay it over and over and over, well, half of it. And without that ability, this would just be a worse version of the Piranhas, which are a 3-3 for 2 with Defender. But the fact that you have the attack option and that it hits that hard, I think this is a pretty good card. The flavor text is she yearned to walk on dry land, so she might take her vengeance there. I don't remember merfolk in any of these stories. I could be wrong. Is this just the Little Mermaid or something? I know Disney basically stole everything from like old English folk tales and like Dutch ones and probably some other places over there in Europe. Oh, Germany, obviously. In fact, I think they're all from Germany. I don't know. Next up, we've got Witching Well, which has a werewolf in the background, in case you don't see that. And then it's a 1-cost blue artifact, should be neat, common, which means it's apparently hyper powerful. And when Witching Well, by the way, not Wishing Well, enters the battlefield, scry 2, fantastic. And they put the reminder text in there for some reason for scry. Are you kidding me? And then if you pay 4 and sack it, draw 2 cards. That is an obscenely powerful card. I've got to say, though, it's not broken. It's still pretty fair for what you're paying there, but it's a free scry. Well, okay, 1-cost scry. It ups your artifact count, which I worry might be a thing. I really hope not. And then it's just like a delayed, overpriced divination, but it's still a 2 for 1. And drawing blind or drawing into a scry 2 are 2 completely different things, because I've always said it, there's card advantage, and then there's actually drawing cards that you actually need, that are actually relevant. And a card advantage of 3 versus drawing 1 card that you actually need, guess what? And the flavor text is, it was built by the Witch of Lochmere. Most of the wishes it grants are its own. Oh, is this one of those like mummy's hand or monkey paw or whatever? They've changed it so many damn times. That's not even, that's like Egyptian or something. They're going all over the place with these. In fact, I think that was a ripoff of just like legends about jinn from the Middle East. Where they like purposely grant wishes to screw with you and like twist whatever your wish was. Oh, Wizards really getting multicultural with their complete and utter blatant ripping off with no compensation of everybody's old-timey cultural folktales and superstitions. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's a joke, people. Why do I have to say this? It's because they're SJWs and they act like this all the time, so I'm parodying them. And some of the dumbasses who work there are stupid enough to actually think I'm serious and actually think that I'm taking actual shots at them for actual reasons, and they're going to try to correct it, which is twice as funny. That's why I keep mentioning how deeply offended I am by Kamigawa. I mean, do you think I actually give a shit? Because I don't. I don't care about Japanese history. I really don't. Nor do I care about Wizards' accurate portrayal of it. Anyway, next up we've got Witch's Cottage. This is interesting because it's actually still a common. It's a land, a swamp. You can tap it and add for black, which is implied because it is a subtype swamp, but they had to put the reminder because otherwise people would be like, yeah, but does it do that? Well, all swamps do that, but why would you need to know that rule? Because of course swamps do that. You probably just assumed that on day 1 of playing Magic and never thought of it again. But anyway, yes, this does tap for black. Unfortunately, it's completely useless. So, Witch's Cottage enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more swamps. Oh boy, swamp synergy, yay! There are more than a couple cards in Standard right now that have to do with the number of swamps. In fact, there's 2 that aren't rotating. But Cabal Stronghold is, so kiss that goodbye. And then when it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. That's right, not even directly into hand. Wow, that's bad. I mean, it's free. Like, it's a complete free trigger. I mean, there are spells that do this, but there are spells that also put multiple creatures back into your hand, so I don't know about this. I hope this doesn't suggest that there's going to be a death trigger deck where you keep bringing stuff back and then when it dies you get a trigger, because I am so over decks that do that. And there's no flavor text, and that is the last one. So thanks Australia from sending me these from the future. Thanks Kotaku for leaking them early. I know early is relative. And thanks to Wizards especially for forgetting that people live in Australia. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe to not miss more of these amazing spoilers as they come out and horribly irreverent commentary about them. I'll see you guys next video.